I'm like, please, let's avoid those. And that also gives us time to listen to the engine, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So like I said, a lot of fun in a little EF.
It pulls, and you're right, like you feel the car. I mean, when you pull into third, the whole car shifts. But yeah, sorry, yeah, thank you for doing that, by the way, because the Type R motor is just gonna be iconic, and it's so good. And for this car, it's more than enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I mean,
Everyone, welcome back to Automotive Anatomy. Today we have Loui. Loui, thank you so much for the time, man.
no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for bringing this beautiful car. Hopefully we don't get kicked out, because you know how it is.
Yeah,
we found so many different places and there's people everywhere, but we'll see. So tell us, what are you driving today, man?
It's a 1991 Honda Civic SI. Had it for a little while now.
Had it for a little while?
Yeah.
And a little bit of history behind it, right?
Yeah.
It's like track car. Now it's more like...
Yeah, well, I picked it up in 2012, and like, to give a little history, I ran into a friend at a Blockbuster, and I was going in with my daughter, and I ran into a friend, and he's like, hey, do you still play with cars? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I've got a car that I need to get rid of, and I know you're just the person to take it. And so he started telling me about this, and he made it sound like just a complete basket case. He's like, the door doesn't open, it's been sitting since I think 2006, and it's, you know, come take a look. You know, I'll make you a deal. I
love how, like, despite all that, you're like, yeah, let me go take a look.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's a good friend, and, you know, he was telling me I was the only kind of person that he would think would give it a good home. So I go take a look at it, and true to his word, it's parked in a driveway, half in the sun, half in the shade. The windows are cracked open a little. There's mildew inside.
Nice.
It's on 4 flat SSR Type X's.
Ooh.
But, you know, it's just a piece. Dust, dirt everywhere. And so, you know, I was like, okay, in my mind, I'm actually thinking maybe I'll just pick it up and clean it up and flip it.
Right.
But I felt bad about that. I get it home, and my friend starts helping me clean it up and everything. And little by little, I realized the car is like a little time capsule. It had a Lightspeed strut tower bar. It had a box with 212s, Alpine speakers in the back. Had Alpine amplifiers, head unit. It was on Tokiko Blues with new speed lowering springs. It was on Type X's. You know, had the little dash mat, Razzo shift knob. You know, it was a time capsule of that time. But it needed everything. The windshield was cracked. The gasoline turned to gel. The braking system was leaking. All the piston rings were experiencing blow by. Big plumes of smoke when I drove it. Transmission fluid was leaking onto the exhaust. The transmission throwout bearing was bad. Like, just, it needed everything. And, you know, but it was also at a time when you couldn't get rid of these cars. Like, I could tell you, hey, I'll give you a free 91 Civic. It needs some work. And nobody would want it. You know, you couldn't do that. And so, you know, I picked it up, started working on it, and unfortunately, at the time, I was actually in the middle of losing my job too. And so I did some stuff to get it. You know, I had the engine rebuilt, did a Syncrotech transmission, and, you know, just cleaned it up so I could use it as a daily. Because I was driving it to work, and like I said, it was just smoke everywhere. We went to Disneyland one time in it, and I stopped at the light, and there's this big cloud of smoke coming up from everywhere, and a guy pulls up next to me. He's all, your car's on fire. I'm like, no man, it's just transmission fluid, just transmission, hitting the exhaust and just smoking everywhere.
Oh, man.
And, you know, and since I was losing my job, I had another car, an 84 Rabbit GTI.
Oh, nice.
And this thing was mint. And between the two cars, again, you couldn't give these cars away. And I knew I could get more for my Rabbit than I could for this. And I was like, you know what? Let me sell the Rabbit. I'll daily this for a while. You know, let me put some money in the bank, stuff like that. And little by little, as things picked back up, we got resettled. I had a job again. I started working on the car a little bit more. Like I said, I had the engine rebuilt. I did the Synchrotech transmission, replaced the windshield, cleaned up the interior, and started just kind of upgrading things here and there. And, you know, it was my daily, but also I wanted to do track stuff with it. Because most of the cars I hadn't really done a ton of track stuff, or they were just too clean to beat up on the track.
Now, that was the only car that you had at the time?
That was the only car. My wife had her car and I just had this.
Oh, wow.
And we were at an apartment, so I couldn't really even do too much work on it myself, you know, because I'd always go up and down the garage, the elevator, bring my tool chest and stuff, and like try to work in the garage. And, you know, and it's funny because like this back here was like the first dent that I got while it was at the apartment building. Like I had just done some work to it, came down the next day and somebody put a dent in the rear fender. And
I can't even see it. But
this thing has bugged me ever since I got the car, because that was like the first dent while I owned it.
Like, you're welcome.
Exactly. But like at the apartment, I upgraded the suspension to the ground control Coney setup. I ended up changing out the brakes, did the did the rear discs from a CRX, did the brake line upgrade. I had changed out the full fuel system, all the suspension bushings. You know, I was running the rebuilt D series, the Synchrotech transmission, and little by little I was just kind of, you know, cleaning everything up and gearing it more toward daily, but some fun on autocross track. I had friends that were autocrossing and stuff and went with them, and little by little it started kind of coming together.
Well, if it turns on.
Yeah, I know. Let's see if it starts.
We'll leave it on the camera. Let's see. It will turn on. Watch.
Okay.
I'm here.
Positive thoughts.
I'm
positive
here.
thoughts.
When the mechanic is here, I'm not a mechanic, but that's sad that we're celebrating all those expensive parts, and we're hey, typical car guys.
You know what? That's a 1 in a million, man.
And that describes car guys, man. And we will not turn it off again. Don't turn it off. Thank you.
Oh man, what the heck? Seeing little things.
You also deal with that. Yeah, things just randomly break.
Yeah, exactly. See?
That's a bummer.
There we go. Okay, at least simple fix. Simple fix.
Man, your car smells so nice.
Thank you. It was funny. I went to this. See, I keep saying it's funny. I went to a car wash in Eagle Rock the other day, and I always go there because they do the full hand wash, no machine or anything. And it was really cool because all the guys were like just really jazzed about seeing this car. And sometimes I forget how much it does bring joy to other people to see this car and to see this, you know, the color. They'll be, oh yeah, I had one just like that in high school, or, you know, oh, I remember these. Is your car okay here?
Yeah, it's fine.
You know,
and if not, we'll find out when we come back. Again, the car doesn't turn on all the time, so if they steal it, please fix the ignition switch first and then give it back. But yeah, it brings a lot of memories. They're cars that are, you know, they're no longer in production, and they're so hard to find. And speaking of my left here, was that you trying to be nice so he doesn't sell my car?
Yes. Want to make sure with the windows open he doesn't try to like, hey, what's this car they left behind?
Clean it. Put money inside? Bro, trust me. They'll be looking at it like, ah, man, some homeless dude lives here. It's like, nah. You can make a left, and then we won't.
But yeah, you know, it's one of those cars that, especially because of the color too,
yeah,
it makes it pop. And honestly, I was not looking for this color. Back in high school, this was literally the only person that had this color was our friend's younger sister.
Did you like it?
It was the girl color car,
no,
you know?
So there you go, no.
But you know, at the time we wanted black SI, white SI, red SI. You know, I had a black 91 back in the day with the limo tint and everything. You know, that was my first brand new car. Was a 91 Civic SI bought from Colonial Honda in Glendale.
Really?
Yeah. And manual transmission, 5-speed, the SI.
Oh,
yeah.
It was the SI.
I lucked out. I got an SI. I wanted a CRX or a Prelude. I ended up with the Civic, and it was
thank
a blast.
God you didn't get a Prelude.
Oh no. Actually, yeah. Thank God. But man, you know,
hi Prelude friends.
that was my entire real beginning with cars though, because like I wasn't big on sports. I was like, you know, pretty much the same height, maybe 127 pounds, braces, glasses. So, you know, prototypical kind of nerd back then. You know,
football linebacker.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, but cars made sense to me, and you know, I was good at driving. I was good at racing them. You know, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I had some skill driving.
Okay.
And especially back in the day, being 127 pounds, it was like I had a weight advantage. A lot of the guys used to joke, it's like the car's racing without a driver. You know, so it's just something that made sense. And, you know, that was the thing that I met so many people from there. That's where I got into my first race crew and met a lot of the old guys from back then that I still know to this day. You know, and I still run into some of them here and there, and just, you know, it's one of those things where you don't realize how much cars bring people together. And that saying goes way back, where like you may not know somebody by name, but you'll know, oh, that's the guy with the 91 CRX, he's got black, you know, he's got the fins, he's got the HKS, and he's got nitrous, man, watch out for him, you know,
but I don't know his name. You know all those details, but you don't know his name. Yep.
Exactly. Or, oh, hey, there goes that dude, he's got the white RX-7, You'll know all the details about
the way you save them on your phone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Same thing. You end up saving. Oh, you know, this person has this. This person has that.
Now it's through like Instagram you know, handles. You know.
Yes.
Like every time I think of you, old school design, but then I'm like, hey, wait, man, what's your name? I remember. You're like Loui. Oh, okay, cool. Like just it goes. Yeah, cars do bring cars, you know, people you know, together. That's why it's 2024, and you and I are rolling in a you know, EF in LA because of the social media thing.
Yeah.
And because we appreciate the old school. Yeah. Of course, they're fun and everything. You know, we passed by a whole bunch of bodies, but there was not one that caught my attention that I'm like, oh, let me stop and look at it.
Yeah. A lot of cars nowadays, they look very much the same. There's not a lot of, you know, uniqueness to them. They kind of just blend in. They become, what's the term? Normal traffic?
Normies, yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, my mom had passed around that time. And I had a little bit of money that she left me to do something, you know, just fun. So I ended up buying a Type R swap from H Motors, from Steve. I had met Steve, had been buying some parts from him and stuff. I did some ITR front seats before, the SRDs. And I ended up picking up the swap from him. And I went to J&C Automotive in the Valley to go ahead and have it dropped in.
Okay.
But the funny thing was, I didn't do it to this car. I ended up I had a DC Integra at the time, and I ended up doing the swap into that car.
Okay.
And it was just because I wanted to avoid having to get the car barred, you know, and with the Integra, you could drop it in and not worry about it.
Okay.
Well, I enjoyed it for a little bit, but the Type R in an Integra, not as much fun as I thought it would be.
Interesting.
To me, it still felt kind of slow.
Say it,
you know,
say
maybe
it slow. Yeah.
Heavier car or
Integras
something.
suck. Say it. Wait, is that where you were going with that?
I wasn't going that way, but it was. I was so used to smaller cars. You know, I'm a small guy. I like small cars. I'm not comfortable in big cars. But the Integra felt heavy, and it didn't feel as fast as it could have been.
Right.
Granted, it was a GS with the Type R swap instead of the Type R. You know, I guess weight difference. But I ended up having to park the Type R the Integra on the street more, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to have all that money in a car on the street.
Yeah.
So we pulled it, threw the engine in here, and I ended up, because the engine sat so high, I had to do the Hush carbon fiber hood for the additional clearance. And then, you know, it's like, oh, we had to do the wiring harness, and I got that from IDT Customs in Fresno. And, you know, it just kind of starts spiraling everything that you need to do. And, you know, and when I started trying to go back to like the autocross stuff, a lot of the guys at the autocross course, they were like, well, you know, your car is so complete and so intact. Are you sure you want to be beating it up at the track? And I was like, well, that's kind of what I picked it up for.
Right.
You know? I wanted to have fun and not worry about the aesthetics or the paint or anything like that. But at the same time, I could see they had a point, because it was everything was there. There, you know, the complete interior, the full suspension, and a lot of the cars at the tracks were just beat up DXs, gutted, stuff like that. Right. So I started thinking about it.
Dailies.
Yeah. And by the time I did the Type R swap, it was middle of the pandemic. So that's when all the values also started kind of going up. And I lucked out. I had bought it just before all of that. So now it became, do I want to take something I have so much money in and take it to the track and possibly ball it up?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like,
No.
it is one of those decisions. It's like, okay, yeah, do you want to? I see other people doing it all the time, but
I'm not other people. Yeah.
And it's like, it would hurt if I balled it up, but at the same time, I love having this on the track. I love when we went autocrossing. I love taking it to AAA Raceway. There's just something about this car. It's so visceral. And with the Type R, it's just enough horsepower. You know, it's not too much, not too little. The difference in weight from the DC to the EF with the Type R, such a huge difference. It made me enjoy it so much more. And then where I live, there's a lot of sheriffs nearby. So the HKS exhaust, it keeping it kind of quiet and everything and mellow, I don't get hassled up there.
It's awesome.
You know, and yeah, and it's a lot of fun. But I mean, this car has, you know, so much memories also wrapped up into it, because, you know, I bought it from a good friend, you know.
At a Blockbuster, don't no longer exist.
Exactly.
It's on a Friday night, you're buying pizza and...
On a Friday night, going to pick up the movie of the week. But, you know, stuff like, you know, like the rear seats, the EF9 SIR seats, that I got from my friend EF Danielson.
Okay, from Danny, yeah.
The Recaro seats, the Recaro LXs, these I got from our good friend Garrett that passed away. You know, he won them in a raffle, and he had them sitting for a long time. And we were just talking one day, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to look for a set of seats like this. And he's like, I have some if you want them.
Damn.
I was like, what are you talking about, dude? He brought them out in their mint condition. I was like, how did you not put these in your car? I was like, yeah. I threw them in my car, and he sat there for a little bit, and he's like, damn, these look good. Kind of want them back now.
Kind of too late, buddy.
Exactly. And, you know, it's little things. Like even the MR5s, when I had those built, it was after the swap and everything. And my wife and daughter were actually the ones that convinced me to do it. I went to Love 20B, and I was talking to Matt about doing a set of wheels. But I wasn't sure at the time I wanted to spend so much, because it felt like an extravagance.
It is, yeah.
And I was trying to keep everything kind of within budget. The Type R was probably like the biggest thing that I did. And my wife and daughter, they were like, you know, look, you work really hard, you do a lot for other people, you know, do something for yourself. And I was like, well, I'm not sure. I took my daughter with me to go see Matt, because he was going to test fit a set. And I'm like, if they don't fit,
great,
I'm not going to do them.
Yeah, you're not going to feel bad about it.
Yeah. And so he put them on, and they just look perfect. And my daughter was like, you got to do it, Dad. You got to do it. And so I ended up, you know, committing, did the wheels, made a good friend with him.
And now here we are.
Yeah, and here we are now. It's
so the color itself, is this OEM paint?
Yes, it's the OEM paint. I haven't restored it, haven't repainted it. And I get a lot of shit for it because a lot of people are like, well, you know, that's one thing that will really pick up the car from here if you redo the paint. But in all honesty, if you look at it, it's really not that bad. It's
the way you explained it is not bad.
And it's got some flaws here and there. You know, unfortunately, this phallic-shaped racetrack thing on my door. But like our other friend Tim, he did a color correction on it, and he got actually a lot of the imperfections out of the paint.
It's a lot of reflection, it's a lot of shine. It's actually very well taken care of.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't really want to repaint it if I don't have to.
Right.
You know, and it's like, that was one of the things for me where when I first picked up the car, I wasn't really worried about paint, polish, any of that. I just wanted something I can drive, have fun, not worry where I park it, anything like that.
But those are the memories that you're talking about.
Exactly. Like the Mugen shift knob. That was my first Mugen piece from my wife way back before I had this car. And I've had that, I've kept it tucked away. As soon as I got this car, I put that in there.
That's awesome.
The steering wheel. That is actually from way back, I want to say like 93. That was the first Momo I ever got. And definitely period correct. It's the small diameter. I actually had the Mugen steering wheel in there, but just something about the smaller diameter in this car and the thickness.
It just goes with it.
Exactly. And it feels so much better.
A little go-kart.
Yeah. And, you know, it's all these little things, you know, that make me really enjoy it, but it also, each of the little steps, you know, like the Hush hood, you know, and I never thought I would do a carbon fiber hood, much less, you know, but my old hood was all the clear coat was all peeling and everything. Once I did this hood, it made such a difference because now everything was shiny again. You know, it was like,
so that's supposed to look. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you said you replaced suspension. You have the ground controls right now on those.
Yes.
Great setup.
Ground control and PCI. So I have the PCI upper arms, ground control, Coney and ground control suspension. I have the MPC drop forks front and rear. Have the PCI lower control arm bushings. So like everything suspension wise has been gone over and is all either new or fairly recently new. Like
That's
once
awesome.
I started doing all the autocross, I did all the major maintenance, all the suspension, all the fuel systems. But I still have that mysterious startup issue. Yeah, which I told you this morning hit me.
Wouldn't be a Honda.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see if it starts. We'll push it. Don't worry.
See if I got a pop started or not.
We'll start it.
Yeah.
And wheel and tire setup. Remind us of the name of them and the specs.
Yes. So they are Mugen MR5s. They are 16 by 7.5 with a 19 offset. Custom build by Love 20B. Matt churned out a couple of these, so you'll see them on. There's a couple of other Hondas out there that's got similar setups. But yeah, it was my first set of full custom wheels, and originally I was asking Matt to do a 15 by 7.5 setup because at the time I was still planning to autocross it, and 15 7.5 was the max I could do for my class.
Okay.
But he talked me into the 16. He's like, oh, just do the 16, you'll love it. And sure enough, we did the 16, and I was like, okay, you're right, it looks great. But I couldn't maximize how it looked at the time because I had this crazy driveway with a peak. And so I couldn't go as low as I needed to really set them off, and so to me it always still kind of looked weird. It just looked like it was sitting too high. Now at the new place we're at, I was able to drop it down, and I like the height a lot more.
I can still see a lot more room to go down.
Very true, very
it's
true.
Not my oil plan, so.
Well, you know, and with that, got to be careful because Jay with the really long last name, who also has his Tahitian, I think he's just a little bit lower than me, and he just busted his oil pan on the way home the other day.
Come on, Jay with the really long last name. Don't do that. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the car, I mean, the back, what have you done to it?
Yeah, so, okay, so I did the 619 Special Projects carbon fiber rear wing.
Beautiful.
I've wanted this wing for a long time just because it's a direct replacement, and my third brake light had gone out for a long time. And I was like, you know, I want to replace it. I don't want to have to deal with the third brake light or anything like that. And I had heard that cops will ticket you if you have a third brake light that's not working. So I was like, let me just replace that. My friend Brandon, Matrix Power, had given me actually the fiberglass version of it.
Wow.
And so I was running that for a while. But with the carbon fiber, I really wanted to do the carbon fiber one. And I was just really happy. I mean, the fit, the finish, you know, I can't complain. It looks
great.
Really good. A couple of guys ended up picking up the wing after I posted up some more about it. So I was like, okay, that's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a good feeling. Gives me Osaka wings.
Yeah. Most of the Osaka wings and stuff. But I didn't like also how you have to sandwich the wings together to get.
Which is crazy that you mentioned
look.
that this is direct fit.
Yes.
That's a big plus.
Yes.
You don't have to drill into the body.
Exactly. And I didn't have to mess with it or anything. Bolted right up. The Hush Performance hood. The first time I got it, I unboxed it, did a nice unboxing with my wife, started mounting it up and everything. And I started getting the bolt in, and I cross-threaded the bolt.
Nice.
And I was like, shit, if I tighten it up, I'm going to bust the hood. But I couldn't get it back out. I had to take it to a body shop to finish mounting it.
You know what? That's something I would do. So I'm not even gonna laugh because that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way we do things.
Yeah, it's part of the process. But I mean, you know, building this car and having this car, I've made a lot of really good friendships. And, you know, I have a lot of parts that are from friends. And I remember, you know, when people have helped me out with stuff, or, you know, like I said, Baxi, he came out and helped me do some stuff under the hood. I got the rear seats from Danielson, the front seats from Garrett.
Speaking of seats, do you mind showing up the interior?
Yeah.
See what's going on. Man, such a clean interior. And these seats, man, with the fishnet, it's just
I mean, those
the most
Recaro,
perfect seats for this car.
the Recaro LXs really are. And I had actually wanted a set of these for the longest time, but I kind of gave up on them. And when I was doing the autocross stuff, I actually had the ITR Recaros in here, the SR3s, I think.
Very popular.
And yeah, but when I got the chance to get these LXs, I was like, have to jump on it. You know, have to jump on it.
And it looks so much better here than those seats that you're mentioning.
It does.
In my opinion.
It does. But, you know, I have to admit, the SRs with the EF9 rear seat actually kind of worked because of the red stripe and then the red stitch and the Type R seats. But these they just work so much better. Now, and actually, that same guy, Tim, Rub DC2, helped fix my Recaro recently because the fabric broke on the bottom and I sank through the seat. So I was like, one day I was driving and I was like, did I shrink or something? Something felt off. And then I realized that the stretch material at the bottom had broken and let me go through it. So
that's funny. Gotcha. Okay. And then short shifter?
Yes, I have it is the hybrid racing shifter with the RFAB shift plate. And that combination is fantastic. Basically, what I did, instead of mounting the shift plate underneath in the transmission tunnel, I mounted it up above.
Okay.
And it allows you to get rid of the counterbalance bar. So it's just a direct connection, the single shift linkage to the transmission.
Wow.
You do have to have stiffer engine mounts though to run it, because if you have the original OEM ones, the engine shifts too much that it'll knock it out of gear.
What?
But with that RFAB plate, man, it is tight. There's less play in it. You have more adjustment. You can even actually, with the height adjust of the hybrid, you can leave it at the higher setting and still feel like a really short throw.
That's good.
And so I like it, the combination and everything. You know, it's definitely one of the best driving upgrades that I feel I've done. Oh, it's a really good setup.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, sounds like a little bit of work there.
Yeah, it was.
You know, where
it was one of those things where we all have a pile of parts that we've been waiting to install and stuff, and that was one of the things. I had the shifter, I had the plate, and I had just been lagging on installing it. And then just one day, I was reading that it's actually easier and better to install it inside the cabin, because you also move the shifter up and you give more clearance to the exhaust running underneath. So I was like, oh yeah, and
makes sense. Yeah.
And true to word, it was really easy. Two of the mounting spots are already there. You drill 2 additional holes, add some spacers, and it was really nice. And because that was one thing I ran into when I would catch on a high point on the exhaust, sometimes it would push the exhaust up into the shifter.
It's not good.
And you're stuck. You couldn't shift until you got off of that high point. Yeah. Cars, it still holds today as it did for like our dads and our uncles and stuff. Older cars, they're more fun. You know, they're easier to work on. They're more visceral. Look at this. You feel the vibration in the engine because of the motor mounts. You feel the acceleration. You're not isolated from everything around you. When I drive, I like dropping the windows, opening up the sunroof, feeling everything, hearing everything. You know, it's just one of those things. Something just clicks. And I think when you find that group of people that enjoys it too, for whatever reason, there's people out there that like certain cars just because of the aesthetics. There's others that it's just purely the memories from high school, or their uncles or aunts had one when they were a kid and they admired that person. Or, you know, somebody has track aspirations and they want to have a car that they know they can build easily and cheaply. You know, whatever it is, it's always something that just kind of brings people together. And my wife, to this day, she's always amazed. I could go anywhere and just talk to somebody randomly at a gas station about their car. You know?
Did you say she's amazed or she's annoyed?
No, she's sometimes annoyed, but mostly amazed, because she's like, you know, how do you do that? How can you just walk up to anybody and start talking cars? And it's like, it's a universal thing. It's a universal language, a universal love, you know? And most people, they want to talk about their cars. They want to tell you the story, the history, you know, they want to share like where they found this piece, where they found that piece.
Sorry. I keep seeing those freaking sewer things. And I'm like, please just avoid those. And that also gives us time to listen to the engine, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh wow.
fun in a little EF.
It pulls, and the you're right. Like, you feel the car. I mean, when you pull into third, the whole car shifts. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, the Type R motor is just gonna be iconic, and it's so good. And for this car, it's more than enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I mean, I've seen people with K series and EFs and everything, and dude, God bless them. I don't think I'd have the heart to put a K in one of these, because there's also a lot of other compromises. You can't go as low, or you have to do this or do that. But I feel like a K is just a little too much for an EF, for me at least.
Right.
The Type R, I think, is just a perfect balance. It's not too much, not too little. It's a classic B series, you know, and that was the king. Those were the king engines when we were growing up. You know? Like in high school, I still remember when people were like first experimenting with the swaps. There's no kits, no plug and play, no harnesses. People were just cutting and welding the mounts. People were just cutting the wires, and just everything was butt connected or soldered and everything. You had just
OSHA proof. 100%.
Oh, it was definitely nothing to show off. But that was also part of like everything about the Honda era at that time. You had to just kind of figure it out as you went, you know? And it was usually like, you usually kept those things between you and your little race crew or something like that. You know, people did, at one time I remember people were pulling off their air filters, and they were doing like wire mesh and pantyhose over it in place of a filter. You know, you pull out your spare, you did everything you could.
Get that advantage.
Exactly. I was talking to Miles Bautista at one of the events, and you remember back in the day, it was always like, oh, you squeeze, you lose, unofficially, right? So you would pop your hood, and everybody would, you know, try to see if they could find your lines and all that. And it just made people better at hiding their lines, hiding their tank. You know, you had people who were hiding sneaky Pete bottles in the cushion of their seat. You had people who were running lines under the intake.
It's supposed to be an A. That's a whole different world, man.
Yeah.
I never got to experience that, but I always enjoy listening to all of those things, because it shows that you guys were, you know, pioneers, and you guys were doing things different. Trying to really just get the best out of these Hondas. And that's why for that era, you know, the American muscle people were always like, little Hondas, blah, blah.
Yes.
Now, no one in their, you know, sane mind says anything negative about Hondas, because now the tech that has gone, you guys, and I say you guys because I don't really build anything, but you guys who have put in the work and have just innovated into these little chassis, these are killing the game. And these are no longer we use the word cheap, but in essence we're trying to say it's more budget friendly, but some stuff is getting really expensive because you guys keep pushing the you know, Wire, the quality of work that he does this for Porsches and he does this for Hondas, but the quality of work is still there.
Exactly.
And it's not cheap anymore.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I remember I got out of like Volkswagens and Audis and went back into 91 CRX, and this thing was mint. I got real lucky when I found it. It was well taken care of. But the problem for me was I had my wife and my daughter, and I liked driving the car with both of them, but I always had to pick one or the other. Okay. And this thing was so mint, I didn't want to engine swap it. I felt bad doing anything to it, like even taking it to a track or anything like that. I was like, you know, I don't want to destroy this car. And that kind of was what stuck to me. When people have these like perfect paint, perfect condition, that's a lot of work to keep something perfect. And I used to have a touch of OCD where I would like try to keep things in perfect condition, but man, it's tiring. You know, because you spend so much time taking care of it that it feels like you stop enjoying it, because then you don't feel like you can just jump in and drive it wherever you want. It becomes that museum piece to look at as opposed to something to just jump in and drive. And you know, look, I don't throw any shade at anybody who loves doing that type of stuff and likes taking care of their stuff. But at the same time, it's just, you know, I like to just jump in and drive and enjoy it. You know, I like to give the car a quick wipe down and stuff, and just enjoy it. I love driving more than any of it. But, you know, yeah, the building process along the way, it's what tests you. And these cars definitely will test you.
That race car stuff, you don't mind, let's see the power engine, because to go back into the D series after all of that.
Yeah, I mean, man, I had that D series for a while, and I had I had a brand new, freshly painted valve cover or powder coated valve cover from Charlie Moya. He's the guy who does a bunch of powder coating and stuff, and he does bash bars. I had a valve cover from him from back in the Honda Tech days that I had never thrown on, so I threw it on the D series, and everything was clean, but had to go do the B series swap.
Wow. Well, let me first and foremost. Wow, like flex. What is this?
Oh yeah. So that's the Hush.
And by the way, welcome to the channel. Yes, this is a TPR Swap. The host goes through this. What is this?
The Hush Performance hinges. They had a deal when I did the hood. They had a deal where you get the hinges as well. These nice billet hinges, and I believe they were actually being made. Shoot, I forget the company's name. 310 Projects or something. But Hush was doing a deal where you do the hood, you do the hinges, and it made sense to me. So I did both together, and I get, it caught your attention. I do get a lot of questions about it. A lot of people always ask me, and I guess Hush ended up redoing the hinges their way, and they're actually going to be redoing this hood too. And part of the problem was when Hush was selling these, Fiber Images was the one who was making them for Hush, but he was having all sorts of problems with, in the clear, the fit and finish, and the quality control. And so he ended up always having to put a lot of work doing quality control after they get to his warehouse before he would ship them out.
Might as well do it myself.
Exactly. So he was like, you know what? Let me just do a better product. And so, there's some imperfections here and there.
I like it a lot. I like the style of it because it gives me still like OEM vibes.
Yes.
And then you have these little centerpiece where the clearance.
Exactly. Instead of having to cut the frame here and there.
The skeleton,
Exactly.
And then it comes like this.
Yes.
Great job.
All frameless with the SIR look to clear the
That's really good. And the finish.
And the case.
So it's not even just like they actually took the time to finish. Well,
exactly.
Great product. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I love those struts, man. I was like, oh man. Oh yeah, what is this?
Yeah, so B18 JDM B18C. Ooh. Leaking a little oil.
As my buddy Eric says, a leaky engine is a healthy engine.
I've learned that the hard way, and my friend Baxi, he came out, he changed out the cam seal. Unfortunately, the company that makes the cam seal, it's not a good product. He changed it out, and it still continues to leak from there, so he's going to help me swap it out to a replacement one. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the engine for the most part is all stock. I did a Rywire harness upgrade.
Fancy.
I did the NGK plug upgrade. The header is a PLM Tota copy.
Nice.
It's the original JDM transmission with the LSD.
Ooh. I
did upgrade the radiator to the Mishimoto, the hoses. I've since replaced the spark plug igniter, the cap, the rotor, the wires, the starter switch.
Maybe that's what doesn't turn on, man. Leave the old stuff in there.
I've gone through each of the systems little by little, tracking that startup issue. And so, for the most part, everything under the hood, while it's dirty, is still fairly new.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be your cap. I'm calling it right now. It's gonna be that cap.
And it's a new cap too.
I've had issues like that. It's gonna be that damn cap.
Man.
Watch.
Yeah.
You remember me.
I might have to take it to somebody else to diagnose.
Because I've had the same issue, and it still does it to this day. And I've gotten so many things replaced, and it still cannot.
See, so then, okay, it might be on the same track then. So I got to check it out.
The sad part is that I don't have a Type R motor in my car. At least you can say, well, you can look good at the side of the road. I got my little F series. It's not good. But anyways.
Hey man, it's still impressive. I like what you've done to the car. I like what you have on your setup.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You don't see it. It's not a common setup. You don't see those cars. They don't get a lot of love. And I've seen what you've gone through, with your suspension, your wheel setup, and everything.
Yeah.
So, and these are always a project of pride and joy, frustration at times.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
You're an Accord guy. Yeah.
I mean, the joke around my friends, whenever we go somewhere, is it gonna start? Is it not gonna start? We went,
and that's the beautiful thing, right? Like, you guys know your car will start. Mine won't. I live on the edge.
Yeah. I mean, we literally, when our friend Garrett passed away, it was kind of a joke as we were leaving. you know, the other two guys, they're like, hey, so you know, do you need us to pop start your car or not? And sure enough,
you needed it.
Had to pop start it that day too. Yeah, and I did the Hotsport, you know, motor mounts, the let me see, what else? We changed out the brake booster, so that one was new. Did the wires.
So many different things you've had to do. That's crazy.
Yeah, and some of it, you know, it just, you know, one thing spirals into the other.
And so we still have AC?
Yes, still got AC, nice and strong and cold.
That's how you know you're maturing, man. That's bad, bro. What do you mean? Take that off. You know how much power you're gonna gain out of it?
Oh, I know. You know, there's only a couple of guys I know that have the Type R setup and the AC still. My friend Boots has a similar setup, so I've been able to pick his brain on some of this stuff too.
That's awesome, man. And the exhaust system, what do you have in total?
Oh, it's the PLM Toto copy to a high flow 2.5 cat to the HKS exhaust system.
Okay. Wow.
And the HKS, while it's period correct and all that, it's not necessarily the best for the flow for the engine.
Gotcha.
You know, 2.5, 3-inch, you know, a lot of people have been telling me. But for my purposes right now, it keeps me under the radar, doesn't catch too much attention. It's fine. You know, if I was to go do more track events, I would probably, you know, look at some upgrades on the exhaust.
Yeah, I love the way the car is tastefully modded. I mean, because to me it's more like a cruiser, but then it's packing on punch, right? Because really all you have to do is put some spoon wheels and bam, all of a sudden the car turns into this different type of monster.
Yeah, and you know, for me, there's a lot of guys that are doing like the perfect period correct, you know, the fins and, you know, the old school sound system, etc. And I appreciate it, and I have a set of fins too. But
of course you do.
At the same time, I don't necessarily just want to build a nostalgia piece, a high school throwback. To me, I feel like this is more a progression of, if I had my Civic from back in the day, what's the progression I would have done?
Right.
Little upgrades along the way, do those track day events and stuff like that, and kind of mod it as you go, as opposed to just trying to keep it in that period. There's other guys who've done way better jobs of that than I ever could. I'm not gonna hunt for a lot of like super rare pieces. To me, it's like a lot of it comes from like, what can I do that isn't gonna break the bank, that makes sense? You know, like the old school New Speed strut tower bar, you know, that's cool. It's an old piece, but I didn't hunt for it. You know, I just happened to find it when I was doing my autocross stuff. The EDM headlights, I did that. You know, it was a nice upgrade, but I wasn't really hunting for them either.
No, I get you. No complaints. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, man. You're killing it. I love the style that you have it. Yeah, I mean, this is more than enough power for this chassis.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad you bought it before the kind of price went up, because now they're going for ridiculous prices now.
Exactly. Which and that was some of the stuff I did too. Some of the JSP, you know, the billet pieces here and there when I did the engine harness. I figured, I ran into him at one of the Gretty shows. Real nice guy. He did the billet window hang cranks that I ordered as well. Nice. But he was having some issues with those. And I decided, you know what, let me order the rest of the pieces. I was really happy with him, his parts, really good on customer service. So I did that too. Figured it matches with the billet hinges. So
it's awesome, man. Well, I love it. Keep it on the road.
Thank you.
Super clean work. And yeah, I'm so glad you picked it up from your buddies, man. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making the time, man. I appreciate you being so transparent. I love the passion. I can definitely hear the passion on building this older chassis. I'm so glad you got rid of the Rabbit and not this one. Otherwise, we probably would never met.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, but you probably would have, you know, less cooler friends than the Civic EF dude. So let's go with that.
Sure.
Any shout outs, man?
Yes. First and foremost to my wife and daughter, who encouraged me to push a little further, do a little bit more, and just, you know, really get out there. My wife really, she knows cars are just my passion, and she knows I have to be able to express myself, and so I thank her so much. Whenever we look for a house, she always makes sure I have a garage. She always makes sure I have a place to put the car.
Love it.
First and foremost to both of them. And then also to Team Bosozoku. You know, I ran back into them when we were building the wheels and ended up joining up with them, and it's been a great group of people, really like family. And, you know, to Dan, Brandon, Garrett, Tim, Art, John, to the Oxnard guys, you know, it's the group of us, you know, Boots, Kevin, Patrick, all of it, and thank. You know, we're always all going to events together. We try to roll in together. That's a group that we're always rolling up together. Great group of people. And to all the people I've met along the way, you know, in working on this car, you know, each of these things, I do remember them. I do, you know, think about the different things and their different contributions to the build of the car. And, you know, it's one of the things that keeps me going with it. Because I would lie if I didn't say, some days I just want to say, you know what, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the stuff like that keeps it close to heart.
Well, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No,
thank you for having me out here.
No, thank you for making the time for us and sharing your story. I always like to see you guys, like all 5 of you EFs dudes with the same color, coming in together, you know, leaking oil and coolant all together. Putting cardboard under the cars all together. I'm kidding. No, you guys don't do that. You guys have quality cars. I love it. But no, man, I appreciate you guys for just making the time. The EF community has been nothing but great. And man, this is a great platform, and I hope you keep it for the long run, and it stays, and you keep enjoying it, because you definitely you have the passion for it, man. So I appreciate you. And let's go for a ride.
Very cool. Let's go for it. Yeah, the building process along the way, it's what tests you, and these cars definitely will test you.
And as you say, there's beauty in perfection.
Yep, exactly. And I'm learning that a lot more now, because I've let go of trying to keep everything in perfect condition, because I find the more you're just always focused on keeping it in perfect condition, the less you're just enjoying it, and sometimes you're just thinking about the future value, the future collectability, and it becomes, am I preserving it just for the next owner, or am I going to enjoy it while I'm here with the time that I have and the people that I have?
100%. Man, what an experience, dude. Thank you. It opened. It's good. Why did you turn it off?
Oh. Oh no, now, dude, now you got me thinking. Hang on.
Here we go.
Let's see.
Now I'm
Roll it.
You're good luck.
You're
just
talking
negative about your car. Your car just loves you.
It